Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SAS Viya Release Highlights Show, our last one of the year. My name is Tiago de Souza, and today we'll be talking about what's new in Viya Release 2022.11. Starting with our rundown, we have Alexei Vaudelin on SAS Studio steps, including the query step for explicit pass-through SQL to DBMS, the custom step for date picker, the engineer step for implementing slowly changing dimensions, or SCDs, and the engineer step to use SQL editor to merge tables. Then we have Joe Madden on VDMML talking about LightGBM as candidate model type and model registration enhancement. And finally, we have Joe Furby on the new SAS extension for VS Code. Then for our release talk today, we have an interview with Stu Stukowski about the convergence of artificial intelligence in business intelligence, which brings us to our question of the day. What is your experience with AI? What kind of AI tools have you used and what for? For example, I use an alarm tool to get up in the morning that requires me to take a photo of a particular object to turn it off. Usually it's my cat, but if she's in bed as well, it's too easy to just take the photo and go back to sleep. So I should probably change it to something else. But that's me. I'd love to hear your use case in the chat. And while you're doing that, why don't we jump into our first segment of the day? I give to you the rundown.
Hello everyone, welcome to SAS Studio Release 2022.11. In this release, we introduce a few major capabilities for SAS Studio. First of all, we add support of explicit pass-through configuration for query step. Explicit pass-through configuration allows us to generate native SQL for the database and then send this SQL for execution to this database. Secondly, we add support of date and time picker control for custom step. This control allows a user to select a date and optionally a time from the visual calendar in the visual UI. Also, in this release, we introduce a new step for SAS Studio Engineer called Implement SCD. SCD means slowly changing dimensions. This step allows a user to configure slowly changing dimension type 1 and type 2 for loading data in data warehouse. And finally, we add support of SQL editor for the merge step. SQL editor allows a user to switch from a visual configuration of the merge step to the SQL editor and benefit from typing any SQL that is needed by the use case, in addition to the capabilities that are available in the UI.
Hello, I'm Joe Madden, a product manager with the Analytics and AI team, and we have a bunch of exciting new updates to share about SAS Visual Data Mining and Machine Learning version 2022.11. First up, we have MLPA LightGBM as a candidate model type. To get started, create a pipeline and select Advanced Settings. Make sure Gradient Boosted is selected. Once you select Gradient Boosting, LightGBM, which is one of those options within the Gradient Boosting node, it will be included in the mix. This pipeline, generated by MLPA, includes a bunch of pre-processing nodes. Out of all the models you saw in the consideration list, these are the top 4, along with the ensemble model that gives you the best accuracy metrics. If we check the Gradient Boosting node on the right side, we can confirm this particular node leveraged LightGBM. Don't forget, you can always unlock the pipeline to override options and explore where your curiosity is going to take you next. Next up, we have model registration enhancements. Many new Model Studio features, such as fairness and bias assessments, model interpretability, and model parameter estimate tables, are now available when you register models. This is really important information that's now available not just in Model Development Environment of Model Studio, but whenever you use the model beyond that. And finally, you'll see significantly improved performance when working in Model Studio in a few specific areas. First, users will see much faster startup when creating projects, getting you from data selection in project settings right into a state where you can start building pipelines much faster. And secondly, you'll notice the pipeline comparison and insights pages update significantly faster and is more responsive for click-happy users like myself. Look for more performance improvements like these in upcoming releases as we continue to focus on performance. And there you have it. Those are our updates. We hope you're as excited about it as we are. Until next time,
It's time to get excited, SAS developers. We've just released the official SAS extension for VS Code. The tool offers an integration point for adding SAS programs into your code without having to switch applications. The extension also offers the ability to connect directly to SAS Viya and run your code. The extension is available on the SAS Studio Marketplace, where you can install or read through the documentation. We've also created the SAS VS Code repository on SAS Software GitHub. Here you can again find the documentation. You can also find many of the features explained in detail. And at the bottom of the page, you can find a support section where you can find a link to the SAS communities as well as an FAQ page. Once installed and in a SAS file, you'll see features like syntax highlighting, type ahead code completion, syntax help, and you can even create code shell blocks with snippets. And I've saved the best for last. You can configure the extension to connect to your SAS Viya environment, run code, and get results. While the extension is new, we've already made multiple improvements, and we'll continue to provide new features and functionality based on our roadmap and user input. Besides using the tool in your work, we encourage and accept contributions. Feel free to create a pull request with your ideas and code.
As you can see, there's always features to spotlight and new updates to cover in the Viya world. Again, that was Alexei Vaudilin, Joe Madden, and Joe Furby with today's rundown. Earlier, I asked you, what is your experience with AI? And we got some responses here. Abhishek uses Jupyter notebooks and deep learning. Stephanie said, no AI for her unless she's using Siri. Very common AI usage there. Thank you for your responses. Coming up next, we have an interview with Stu Stukowski about the convergence of AI in business intelligence. Let's connect with Stu now for our release talk. Hello, Stu. How are you?
Good, Tiago. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm a little curious. I have a lot of questions for you. I hope you're ready.
All right, let's do
First
it.
question here. Can you tell me about the landscape of business intelligence and how is artificial intelligence coming into play here?
Absolutely. Well, traditionally in business intelligence, what people have done is they create reports. People have questions and they want to figure out what's going on, so they just put stuff together and create a report out of it. But the problem is, you're not exactly getting everything that you might want to figure out from your data. And so that's where AI and machine learning have really come into play in this environment. And with SAS Visual Analytics, well, analytics is in the name. We have packed it full of AI and machine learning and augmented analytics to help give you better insight about your data by really just pointing and clicking.
That's awesome. You mentioned augmented analytics. I've been hearing people talk about that. Could you tell me a little bit more about it? And do you need to know machine learning to use it?
Yeah, augmented analytics, it sounds complex, but it's very simple. Basically, it is using machine learning and AI helpers across the entire analytics lifecycle to give you a better idea of what's inside of your data. So here's an example. Let's say you have a dashboard, and on that dashboard is a time series graph with sales over time. You can right click that and get an explanation out of it that gives you information like the range, median, average, and then the top drivers of sales. It could also give you a forecast and give you outlier information, and all of this is being done using intelligent machine learning in the background. Now, these aren't just simple correlations. These are truly machine learning models that's giving you what are the drivers of sales. And you don't need to be an expert to be able to do that. You can be anybody with any background and be able to use all of these little augmented analytics helpers. But really, the best way to see what augmented analytics is all about, let's look at a demo.
Visual Analytics includes augmented analytics capabilities to tell a story about key drivers of a response variable within a dataset. On this dashboard, we see that customer satisfaction is lower than expected and is highlighted yellow. We can ask Visual Analytics to explain what drives customer satisfaction by selecting Customer Satisfaction and clicking Explain on New Page. Visual Analytics dynamically generates a story about the data. First, natural language generation describes the data such as the range, average, and values of the majority of use cases. It uses machine learning to identify the best differentiating variable for the highest and lowest cases of customer satisfaction. It then tells us that the three most important variables driving customer satisfaction are the ship to warehouse, warehouse capacity, and customer state. The bar chart on the left describes how important a variable is for explaining customer satisfaction. Variables at the top explain customer satisfaction the greatest. On the right-hand graph, we see that customer satisfaction is low in southern warehouses, and a natural language summary describes the graph. If we select customer state, we'll get a new dynamically generated graph that describes the relationship between state and customer satisfaction. From this analysis, it is clear that southern states served by southern warehouses have low customer satisfaction. We can also enable high-low group analysis to gain further insight into specifics that drive customer satisfaction. High-low group analysis uses machine learning to find groups of data that predict high or low. Here, the analysis is telling us that there are 32 cases where specific states and products are predicting an average customer satisfaction of 2.8. From this analysis alone, we've figured out where our problem may be and which products may be causing the problem. Thanks to automated explanation, we now have a clearer understanding of how to improve customer satisfaction.
Super intriguing demo we just saw there. Lots of features. My question for you is, who can benefit from these features? You probably have to be a certain type of person with a high level of expertise, right?
Well, that is the beauty of automated explanation and augmented analytics. You don't need to be an expert in machine learning to be able to use this. I mean, we just saw how incredibly simple that was. You right-click, select Explain on New Page, and it runs all of these things in the background. It's doing statistical variable screening. It's doing machine learning. It's creating predictions that we saw. It's doing all of that, and we didn't need to know how to model. It's all baked and built in. So it really is for every type of person. If you're a business analyst, it's great for figuring out what's in your data. If you're a data scientist, we saw that group of variables that is useful for predicting customer or explaining customer satisfaction. You can use that to start modeling. If you are a report designer and you have no idea where to start with your data, this is a great place to figure out what is important. So there's a whole lot of things that you could do with it. Well, let's take a look at another demo that talks about how this can be used also for data storytelling.
Natural language generation and text-based storytelling around visuals is a core built-in component of visual analytics. Report consumers can access augmented analytics capabilities within any object in a report. For example, suppose we want to gain more information about purchases over time. We can right-click this time series graph, select Explain, and click Purchases Amount. Machine learning and forecasting algorithms automatically run to dynamically generate a text report that tells us the average, range, most common value, top differentiating factors, and top drivers of purchases. Since this is a time series graph, we also receive a 6-month forecast. The automated explanation object also includes the same natural language generation that can be viewed by both consumers and designers. Expanding the object reveals additional natural language generation, showing a full description of the report it dynamically generated and the actions it took. For example, we can see that the most related factors were determined by using one-level decision trees on each factor to determine its relative importance to customer satisfaction. The automated prediction object includes similar features. As users adjust values to perform a what-if analysis using an automatically generated model, the natural language summary describes the prediction in relation to the average. For example, we can see that the predicted lifetime value is 36.08% higher than the average lifetime value. Expanding the object reveals additional dynamic text, such as the champion model chosen and its average squared error. Finally, Information Catalog, also available with Visual Analytics, dynamically generates a summary of the data, telling us that the data includes locations, important variables, time series frequency, if any outliers are found, and if any data is considered private.
the best stories are told through data, and I love seeing how easy it is to use like this. Um, this whole time we've been seeing some SAS visual analytics and models in that. Can you tell me why is it a big deal? Why should we care that you can model in SAS visual analytics?
Yeah, modeling in visual analytics is one of the coolest things that you can do. Let's think about what you traditionally do when you model. You'll write some code or use an application, create a model that will create some scoring code, and then you need to integrate that scoring code into your final data. You attach those predictions onto your data, load it on up into visual analytics, and now you have your predictions. But with visual analytics, you can actually model inside of it, and you have over a dozen models available for you to work with. Now, the really cool thing is that you can deploy your model directly in your report. You don't need to write scoring code if you don't want to. When you do that, you create a new data item that is available for anybody in the report to use. They don't need to know how it works. They don't need to know what model it came from. It is literally just a data item that contains predictions. And as new data comes in, you will get new predictions. So you have truly deployed your model right then and there. Of course, if you want to do the traditional way or collaborate or do more advanced machine learning techniques, you can deploy that in a Model Studio. You can also grab your scoring code. So it's really cool how visual analytics lets you cover really however you would like to traverse the analytics lifecycle. Let's take a look at a demo that goes over this. Visual Analytics has deep integration with the SAS Viya data science platform. Suppose we are a bank and have a report describing the number of loans. We would like to predict how many of those loans will be in default and add it to our dashboard. A data scientist or citizen data scientist has access to a number of drag-and-drop machine learning models within Visual Analytics. After testing and comparing a number of models, they find that gradient boosting performs the best. From here, the data scientist can do a number of things. They can export their model to create a new machine learning pipeline in Model Studio for easy collaboration with other data scientists and advanced modeling capabilities. They can register the model with Model Manager for model monitoring and sharing. They can export the model code directly for use in a code flow. Or they can deploy the model directly within the report so that new data is automatically scored using the model with derive predicted. The data scientist decides to deploy the model directly in the report to quickly make predictions available to the author. The probability of default is now a new data item and can be used just like any other data item in the report. As new data comes in, it will automatically be scored with this model. A report author does not need to understand the underlying model in order to use it in the report. If the data scientist wanted to export their code for use in a code flow, they can easily do this with the Export Model option. SAS code is dynamically generated and ready to be used within a code flow.
So many things you can do here: deployment, testing, comparison, exporting, all in one place. And I love all the drag and drop options you have as well. But tell me, why would someone choose to use these features, and also how are they governed?
If you're a data scientist and you are looking to really just integrate all of your reporting and modeling in one place, this is the way to go. You have a number of those powerful machine learning and statistical models all in one place, including gradient boosting and neural networks, and you could visually create all of that. You even can do hyperparameter auto-tuning in 2 clicks. You don't need to code anything. It's really fast and incredibly easy to do. If you are a business analyst, you might want to use augmented analytics for exploring your data. But now we also know that not everybody models and not everybody needs augmented analytics. Sometimes you create reports that are very specific and they serve a particular purpose, and you might get misleading results if you perform augmented analytics on them. So you could turn that off in a single click on the options pane. You'll just click on the options pane and then select allow insights and turn that off, and all of that is disabled for you. You can also go into Environment Manager and create groups of modelers so that, for example, you can have a group of people who creates models, a group of people who creates reports, and a group of people who views reports. So all of that is totally governed and customizable for whatever works best for you.
That's awesome. Lots of different use cases. And like you said, if you don't want to use it, you can just turn it off. But say I do want to use augmented analytics and I want to learn more about it. What are some resources that you would point me to check out?
Yeah, there's a couple of really, really great places to look. First is the SAS Communities Forum at communities.sas.com. Go on over there, ask in the visual analytics area all about augmented analytics. I'm there, my colleagues are there, other visual analytics users are there. We will love to answer all of your questions. Another way is to just dive right in and play around with it. It's so easy to use. So go on over to the Microsoft Azure Marketplace and look for SAS Viya on Microsoft Azure and spin up an instance. Go ahead and play around with it and see how it all works. And then finally, we also have an ebook that I wrote called Augmented Analytics, the secret ingredient to better business intelligence. And if that's too long for you to remember, don't worry, just go to Google, type in Augmented Analytics and SAS, and you will see that on the first page on Google, where you can download it and read through it and get all sorts of information about all the different types of things that you can do with augmented analytics.
Perfect. To recap, he said SAS Communities, go there. There's a whole spot for augmented analytics, and Stu is there as well, answering questions. You can just dive right in on the SAS Viya on the Azure Marketplace, just jump right into an instance. And then finally, the ebook that Stu mentioned as well. I checked it out, and I appreciate the amount of detail that went into it, because it's not just a simple white paper. There's a lot of graphics, and it's very visually appealing as well. So I highly recommend that ebook as well. Stu, thank you so much for coming on the show today and telling us more.
Thanks for having me, Tiago. Really appreciate it.
Sweet. We have reached the end of our show, but we will be back in 2023 with more guests and more highlights. If you're watching this on YouTube, why not give this a like, subscribe to the SAS Users YouTube channel, click on that bell to get notified for new videos, and also when we go live for our next show, which is going to be in February, not January this time. So until then, I've been your host. From all of us at SAS, I wish you happy holidays and a great new year. Thanks, everybody.